Yo, Benny! I don't think he's home, man. Benny, man, yo. Yo, what's up, everybody? I'm MC Savah from the Kankasaurs. You can catch me on funnyordie.com/Kankasaurs, K-A-N-K-S-O-R-Z, you know what I'm saying? But right now, it's all about Benny TV. Yo, because my boy Benny the Gagoots got his own show. And I just want to give a big shout out to Benny. And in honor of that, I'm going to do dope-ass freestyle, man. So he's got to figure out what rhymes with Benny. 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 What rhymes with Benny? Benny. What rhymes with Benny? Benny. He's in the Serengeti. He's hunting for a Yeti and he's always on the ready. And Benny's always merry when he's eating his spaghetti. But right now he's in the desert, so his palms are kind of sweaty. His good friend Freddie, he brought him that Ben and Jerry. And Yetis, they love the Ben and Jerry. So Benny caught that Yeti and we all threw confetti. Yeah, Benny. Benny TV, baby.
Yeah, Benny TV, baby.
Yeah!
Say it, Benny TV, baby.
Benny TV, baby!
Wow, you could be like a professional fan.
Well, I say it like I'm mugging somebody. Like you go up to me like, Benny TV, baby! So they get really scared, but then they're like, yeah! Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so
I'm with you, Big Lurch.
And I'm your host.
With you.
I'm your host, Benny Rizzuti.
And I'm your other host, not Benny Rizzuti. Ryan Rizzuti.
Yeah.
I'm like him, but I'm younger and better looking. Depending on what mirror you're looking at.
And a better beard, too. But I like my colors.
Like, I'm starting to get there. You know, old age.
This is
Sit out in the sun
this
too long.
cashier in a store I went to has the blue hair, and it looked good on her. I said, "Nice hair," and she says,
You know, a lot of
could do
people
that.
have different hair colors. You always say, like, I saw somebody with the blue hair.
"Yeah, but real blue,
Like,
you know."
that's like somebody like, I saw somebody who was a leper. She had blue hair. She just dyed her hair. I know people who dye their hair. I know people who have half a shaved
know.
head. I know people, you know.
Yeah,
you
it's a
didn't, you know,
different-
it's not like you like, I saw somebody and they had 6 eyes. Like, it's just a hair color.
All right.
People have been dyeing their hair blue since the 80s. Get with the times, man. I'm sorry, this ain't Woodstock no more. It's over.
Woodstock.
Go home.
We painted our skin with Woodstock.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
You did now.
We did.
That doesn't even make any sense. Okay, so back to the show. We have a very special episode tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about documentaries. What are they? Where you can find them? And what are some of our favorites?
Yeah.
We also have a couple other things we're going to talk about tonight. I have a movie review I'm going to do. What kind of movie could it be? I don't know. Maybe I said it. Maybe we're going to find out. We want to start the show talking about what some stuff we've done over the week.
Yeah.
We had the Super Bowl, the boringest game of the year, as everybody always knows. It's slow, it's methodically paced, as it always should be. You know, Adam Levine gave the performance of the century.
Oh,
they
my
totally
goodness.
sang Sweet Victory. It was great.
I know.
I'm making all this up, coffee time.
I know, because you're saying that Sweet Victory was something to do with SpongeBob, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not familiar with it.
Yes, you're
But
not
I know-
familiar with the Sponge or the Bob.
A little bit.
You never met
and
the
I
two.
liked it. I never got as fully into SpongeBob as you.
Well, you weren't
and-
6 years old when it came out, like I was.
And a lot of people your age and in your generation.
It's 20 years old this year.
A lot of people in your like generation, you love it, and you were all upset because I read some.
It's like Soupy Sales with you.
Right. Okay. Soupy Sales, but nobody knows.
Exactly. But yeah, no, Sweet Victory is a song in SpongeBob that is it's a whole episode about the Bubble Bowl. And Squidward has to get a group of musicians together for the Bubble Bowl. And it's everybody in town, you know, the usual cast of characters. And it's all going terribly. They're not going to be very good. And then at the last minute, they all come together and they're amazing. And it's the Super Bowl. So
is the Bubble Bowl. Okay.
Stephen Hillenbrand, the creator of SpongeBob, passed away last year. And it's very sad. a big petition went online with over 2 million signatures to have them play Sweet Victory at the halftime show. Didn't matter who was in the halftime show. They just wanted them to play Sweet Victory.
Yes.
Maroon 5 posted clips of them playing the song in rehearsal and kept repeatedly teasing it. And then when the Super Bowl comes, they play the beginning of the clip and then go into Travis Scott. Instead of...
yeah, that's a ripoff.
So you might as well, if you just didn't say anything, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
If you didn't say anything, it would have been perfectly fine. But unfortunately, you did say something, and then everyone got excited. People were screaming. There were people that made bets. There's somebody that I work with. They made a bet with someone, and they threw the $10 in the air. They're like, okay, like you win. And then the second they realized the song was going on, they put it right back in their pocket. They're like, nope, changed my mind.
Yeah.
Not going to get me today.
They didn't do the song.
They didn't do the song.
But you promise it. That's terrible. That, you promise something.
Yeah,
and then
you promise
don't
something,
deliver.
And then you don't deliver. So it's crazy.
It's
wild.
So I understand it now. I didn't understand it that much because I didn't see that particular episode.
And also, you're older. I kept saying this going up to the Super Bowl when everyone was saying that this was going to happen. I wanted it, but I'm like, I didn't think they were going to do it. But I kept saying how funny it would be because it would be such a weird generational gap. Because my generation, all the younger people, anyone like 27, 28 or younger, would know exactly what it is and be like, oh my God, this is awesome. Because they replay that episode a lot. It's a very popular episode.
Right.
But anyone older than that would be like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, but
I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, but like, yes.
If they showed SpongeBob on...
Yeah, but the whole thing was Maroon 5 to just play the song.
All right, yeah.
But they didn't even do that, and instead they had Big Boy come out and do a very popular song from 15 years ago.
But I don't know anybody who really liked that.
Nobody liked it. It was... It's ranked like the third worst Super Bowl performance. Like
right
next to the year with Stevie Wonder.
Really?
Yeah, people don't like that one. They say he's great, but everything around it was a mess.
And the Rolling Stones one, I was not a big fan of either.
Yeah, they did a new song instead of an older song.
Right.
It's weird. I like the Bruce Springsteen one. Everyone, I think, all says that Michael Jackson and Prince were the two best halftime shows of all time.
They were good. Lady Gaga was very good 2 years ago.
Yeah, Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga did a great job. People really enjoyed Bruno Mars a couple years ago.
A lot of people like Bruno Mars.
Justin Timberlake was okay last year. I thought he did better the first time, but who knows? And it was a great game.
Oh my God! Oh man!
I thought it was great. I did really well with Super Bowl boxes.
I
had a very good night, but the game was not fun, and there wasn't that many great trailers or commercials this year. There was a couple of good ones. We were talking about it, but they weren't really that great.
Well, it was the Super Bowl to me was very similar, very metaphoric to what you just said about the SpongeBob. It was a big build-up.
SpongeBob, as we call.
Yeah, it was a big build-up, and then no payoff, no actual payoff.
No, it was very boring.
It was.
But we're done with Super Bowl talk.
Yeah, that's it.
Coming up in this upcoming week, I'm going to see Lego Movie 2 coming out this weekend, and the movie I'm really hyped up to see, Cold Pursuit, where Liam Neeson is an angry snowplow man. They kill his son. He wants revenge.
So. Yeah.
It's going to be the greatest movie of 2019 that should have came out in 1999.
Okay.
I'm all hyped up for it.
All right.
And then this weekend you have
I'm very excited. I'm going to a concert with a rock and roll guitarist, Anna Popovich.
Yes.
And I'm going to see her at the Bolton Center in Bayshore. I believe tickets are still available. And you check her out on YouTube. She is... On the YouTube. And she is a great guitarist. She plays blues. She plays rock and roll. She was part of, there was a Jimi Hendrix Experience with a bunch of I would say the younger generation of excellent guitarists, and Dweezil Zappa was among them.
Oh, yeah.
And she was part. Her and Dweezil Zapper and some other guitarists toured the country playing Jimi Hendrix songs.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
they did a Jimi Hendrix, and I believe they're going to do it again. And I had known about it, and then I learned that Anna Popovich was part of that, and I checked her out on YouTube, and I said, I'm going, the Bolton Center in Bayshore, on Bayshore, Long Island. So, and tickets are very inexpensive. It's a good night. 8 o'clock.
It's going to be great.
8 o'clock Saturday night in Bayshore.
It's going to be a great show.
I urge
If you're
all
not
of you,
there, you're an octopus, so you better go. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great show
nice
tonight.
theater. Yeah.
It's a beautiful theater.
Beautiful
Theater. Not saying that for any reason in particular other than how beautiful it is. It's going to be a great show tonight. We're going to show a quick documentary trailer of something near and dear to your heart. And then we're going to be right back right here on the Facebook.
Yeah.
This story for me was uncovering a big superhero secret. Bob Kane is the man who has been credited on Batman for most of Batman's history.
When you open a comic book, there it says created by Bob Kane. When you see the movies, it says created by Bob Kane. Correcting that is something that terrified everybody, I think, for decades.
Bill Finger was the dominant creative force of Batman, Robin, the Joker, Catwoman, the Riddler, the Penguin, the Scarecrow, Commissioner Gordon, Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, and Gotham City.
I know Bob's trying to take credit for everything. Everything you would think is good, that's Bill.
So how could this not have been so well known?
I was a ghost. I really was.
Bob Kane did not want Bill Finger's story told and took tremendous offense at it.
Bill was Batman's secret identity. It became a crusade, getting Bill's name on Batman. Superheroes are not doing this to get paid or praised. They are doing something for the greater good, then they disappear into the night. Without Bill, there'd be no Batman. So what happened to Bill Finger?
Oh, and we're back. Yeah, you got that Hulu jam coming in, you know, you got to
That was
rock
your
it out.
jam. You were jamming to that.
It's not my jam. I enjoyed it. But we're back here on Benny TV. Benny TV, Ryan TV. We're here. We're talking documentaries. I have a documentary I saw yesterday, right after work in IMAX. And it's a film called Free Solo. We have a poster right here that we can show you. That's going to be really great. It's a really great movie. It is, as you can see, the story of Alex Honnold, who is a rock climber, a professional rock climber, who is he's a free solo rock climber, which that means he climbs without a harness or a rope connected to him in any way. As you can see in the poster, he has no harness, no rope. In order to do that, you have to climb this. He does it probably 100 times before. You know, he doesn't just do it once. There are free solo people that do that. He is not one of those. It is a fascinating documentary. I went in knowing very little. A podcast that I listened to, / Filmcast, talked very highly of it. And Dan Merle of Screen Junkies talked very highly of this film. And a couple other critics that I like. So I decided on a whim, I'm going to go see it. It's an IMAX. They say it's really fun. I'm going to enjoy it. What a movie. Let me tell you. It's a fascinating look into the mindset of a rock climber and what it takes to be a person that can put into the mindset to climb. What he's climbing is El Capitan, which is a giant granite rock face in Yosemite National Park. And it's, I think, close to 3,000 feet tall.
And you're allowed to climb that?
Yeah, no, people are allowed to climb things, Dad. They're not going to yell at you. It's a very popular epicenter for rock climbing.
Okay.
Since I think the 50s.
Oh, all right.
So it's been a very popular destination for rock climbers, but no one has done a free solo. And it is one of the most difficult. There's a reason why nobody has, because it's one of the most difficult things that someone can do. Like, he has to, at one point, he has to grab a rock like this and pinch his thumbs while he karate kicks to the side.
Oh,
and
man.
like, or he's like, or if I do the other way, I have to jump from this to that, and that just seems insane. And he has a really great mindset, Alex Honnold. He has a really great mindset, and he really, really taps in and lets you in onto what makes him tick and why he's so obsessed with rock climbing and why he loves this. And it's really fascinating the way he's able to do this. And at one point, the filmmakers have him get a CAT scan done. And he says, he's like, yeah, it seems like a good idea for me to get a CAT scan. I'd like to know, like, what's going on up here. The fear center of his brain is almost non-existent.
Wow.
It's almost non-existent, which it makes sense because he's a professional rock climber who's been doing this for a very long time. And it goes into, he's done free solo attempts before in other rock faces, and it's all been successful. But he's never told anyone when he was leaving. He would just do it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, if I fall off and I die, it's whatever. He's kind of just that's kind of how he is about it. He's very much like, yeah, if it happens, it's whatever, it's okay. And so he doesn't tell anyone. He doesn't tell his mom, he doesn't tell his friends, he would just do it. This, for the first time ever, he's letting a film crew come and film him. And it's, I think, about 9 filmmakers that are all rock climbers.
Oh,
and they're all, the film was made by National Geographic, and they're all National Geographic photographers. And the main director, there's 2 directors, but they're a husband and wife, but the main director, who was like the person, he was filming everything. I'm not entirely sure. This is partially speculation on my part, but I think there was 2 directors. One kind of focused on the actual filming, and the other focused on the editing. That seems to happen a lot with documentaries.
Okay.
That's a very popular thing with documentaries because there's so much that goes into a documentary. You usually need 2 people. So they don't really show the wife. I've seen her in some interviews. But Jimmy Chin is a main character of the film of, this is my friend. I don't want to see my friend die. And him and one of the other main cameramen, they said, I've been photographing Alex for years. And a big thing about me taking this job was thinking, am I okay with not being able to save my friend if he's out there climbing and I have to be... They're big about trying to keep his experience exactly the same. So they have to keep the cameras out of line of sight. They have to shoot them remotely.
Wow.
Because they can't... If they're too close, it could throw him off mentally. And you have to be completely... Your entire body has to be focused. Your body and mind has to be completely focused on what you're doing. And he's climbing where his hand's just in a crevice, and he's climbing up. And there's points where he's like, yeah, there's no footholds. The points of contact are the things that are keeping you up.
Now, so he narrates it after he did the climb?
It seems like a good chunk of it's before, because a lot of the film is him doing the climb multiple times. He does the climb with friends. He does it with other people, with his girlfriend, who's a big character in the film, and he's never had a relationship like this. And it's a lot of people are like, it's surprising seeing someone who's doing this sort of thing have such a loving relationship, and how this could affect him, because he's never had a relationship going into the other climbs like this.
Okay.
But the big thing is, when it comes to the climb, like, he's just he's just very zoned in. And
that's interesting.
No, it's a very fascinating documentary. I'm pretty sure that the narration, a lot of it's before, because it really just goes into his mind and everything. And it's definitely all before. I think a good chunk of it might be after, like fill-in stuff.
Yeah.
But I think a good chunk of it was before, because the way they shot it kind of makes you seem that regardless if he were to do the climb or if he didn't, or if something were to happen, the movie would have been released regardless.
Okay.
So I think they had a good chunk of the narration beforehand, I believe. But I'm not the filmmaker. I don't really know.
And then you get to see the entire climb.
Yes, you see the entire climb.
That's great.
You see there's a lot of, I don't want to spoil the whole film for you.
No,
But,
because it's something I would be
It's very
interested in.
fascinating. And if you have a chance to see it in IMAX, I highly recommend it.
Oh, I'm sure. Seeing somebody rock climbing.
Just some of the shots where you see, like, it's him in, like, the first third, and then the rest is just the terrain, and see how far, like, the ground is from where he is. And
wow.
just some of the shots are just absolutely spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
So how would you rate this movie?
I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
It would definitely be in my top 5 of last year, because it did come out last year. It's nominated for Best Documentary. I was very upset that 3 Identical Strangers wasn't nominated, and neither was Won't You Be My Neighbor.
Yeah, which
were 2 documentaries I saw in theaters. I absolutely adored. I still like 3 Identical Strangers a little bit more than Free Solo, but Free Solo definitely deserves to win Best Documentary this year.
Wow, that's great.
I definitely think it should.
That sounds good. I want to see that. I haven't seen that. I didn't see.
You haven't seen any of those documentaries?
I haven't seen any of them.
And you've had some available to you. You just haven't watched them.
I still have it in my laptop.
Yeah, but you watched Venom. All right.
Forget about Venom. I'm not going to talk. We're talking documentaries.
We're talking documentaries. We talked. We're going to talk Venom. Next week. No, I'm just kidding. We talked plenty Venom.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to in a second. We're gonna go to a clip. We're gonna show another trailer.
Okay.
Of another film near and dear to your heart.
And this one is also
it a documentary? I don't know. Maybe.
We'll find out. It might be.
And when we come back, we're gonna talk about all sorts of documentaries.
Okay, great. Good. Yeah.
All right.
I love that.
Shoot the fucking thing so I can go back to my life.
You have somebody who is one of the greatest writers of the 20th century.
Repent, Harlequin, said the TikTok man. You give me what I asked for because I'm God.
Male dead gopher to publishing house.
Absolutely true.
Harlan Ellison should probably be read in schools.
The trick is not becoming a writer. The trick is staying a writer.
And Kirk says with wonder, who are you? We are the guardians of forever.
These are my extra typewriters.
This is like an ammunition dump.
Where does he get the energy?
You stupid! You morons! I think revenge is a very terrific good thing for everybody.
Attacked ABC executive breaking pelvis.
True.
Get it on. Really do it.
He threw me out of the house naked once.
The ladies like the little Hebrew boy.
I was a mean little dog. I just wouldn't go down. Yeah, it's a horn, you douchebag! That's one reason people are stupid. They're not using their brains. You don't use a muscle, it atrophies. Stop cringing, I won't hit you. The only smog there is down in the valley killing Republicans. I don't give a shit about that. Art is supposed to be hard. Art is supposed to be demanding. That's the way I feel about it.
Yes, of course. He treated women decently, but he was an idiot.
I should do a freebie for Warner Brothers? What is Warner Brothers out, with an eye patch and a tin cup on the street? Fuck no.
Now it begins.
And we're back!
We're back!
Oh my God! I didn't think we were going to make it!
That was
we went through a vortex!
We did. We went through the Harlan Ellison vortex right there.
Yeah, we did! And we're back. That was Dreams with Sharp Teeth, which is a film about Harlan Ellison.
Yes.
Who is your favorite science fiction writer of all time.
He's
your favorite science fiction writer of all time. You quote him twice a day.
Okay. All right. I won't get into the quotes, but yes, I'm a big fan of Harlan Ellison.
You very much enjoy the Harlan and the Ellison.
And anyone, if you like science fiction or speculative fiction, even essays, Harlan was a writer, and he was one of the last of the great 20th century and the later part of the 20th century writers. And right here is the DVD, Dreams with Sharp Teeth.
Yes, it is.
Which is, it's not just the documentary. So I urge you to buy it. It's inexpensive. You can get it on Amazon. And it has other features. It has Harlan reading some of his stories. And it has a really cool chat with him and Neil Gaiman, who many of you may know from The Sandman.
And Robin Williams.
And Robin Williams is in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
Robin Williams is kind of the narrator, is considered the narrator, because they were good friends and there were scenes with them together. But then it's just him and Neil Gaiman sitting down having pizza and in his house with the camera going.
Yeah.
And they're talking about screenwriting. It's a really fun. There was a lot of bonus material on this DVD.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
I know you're a big fan of this movie.
Him and Neil Gaiman, they talk about how they met and they were eating pizza, and it's just a fun. So, and I actually showed a clip of that one time because he talks. But it's a great. I like it as a documentary, and I was thinking because when you said the theme would be documentaries, I was thinking of. A lot of documentaries I've seen are bio documentaries. I've seen a lot of but I was thinking of some of the other ones I like.
You've seen more concert documentaries than anyone else I know.
I'm big on
rock biopics in general.
Rock biopics.
You own The Last Waltz on Blu-ray.
The Last Waltz
on Blu-ray.
Yes.
On Blu-ray.
On Blu-ray, and some Bob Dylan documentaries as well.
Not on Blu-ray.
Not on Blu-ray.
I have one documentary on Blu-ray, and that is The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, directed by John Schnepp, who passed away last year, signed by John Schnepp.
Which is very cool.
Which is one of my favorite documentaries of all time, which is the story of the Tim Burton Superman film starring Nicolas Cage as Superman and Christopher Walken as Brainiac that never happened. It was very close to being made. They had screen tests with some screen tests with Nicolas Cage, some shots of Nicolas Cage that were released online that don't really show what the film actually would have looked like. It's a fascinating documentary. If you're at all interested in anything I just said about the Tim Burton Superman film that was never released, I highly recommend seeing The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened.
That's a great documentary, too.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Hey, you know what's cool about documentaries is a lot of people who go to the movies, we like seeing biopics.
Yes.
But biopics are generally not the truth. They change the facts, they change the events, where a documentary, sometimes they'll have footage from an actual event. Or
they'll really go into it, or they'll have an interview with the actual person to give you an insight.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have normally had. Like, last night I was watching a documentary about the Foo Fighters. And they were talking about different reasons of why Dave Grohl created the Foo Fighters after Nirvana, after the passing of Kurt Cobain. And it's very fascinating, and he gives you some good insight. And some of the other members of the band and the most known drummer of the band was the drummer of Alanis Morissette.
Oh, okay.
And you see how not everybody really got along with him at first, and you see the different things in the band, and every member of the band gives an interview, so you really get the different insight of each person, and those are the sort of things that really work in documentaries.
Yeah, they do. There was a documentary with Sting from a long time ago, and it was Sting called Bring On the Night.
Yeah, A Man Called Sting, the wrestling documentary.
Sting from the Police.
Oh, why didn't you say so?
Sting from the 80s.
Not the more famous Sting, who's also had documentaries
All right,
about him.
yes, but I don't know him. But anyway, this Sting from the Police had a documentary called Bring On the Night, and he's recording with a new band because he left the Police in a chateau or a home that was owned by Napoleon. So while the band is rehearsing, they're giving tours through the chateau. They're going through it, and he's practicing with, I believe, Wynton Marsalis. What's it? Bradford Marsalis is in the band.
Marsalis Wallace.
Yeah, it's a jazzy kind of band, really good, and they do that. What you said, they speak to different members of the band.
Yeah, no, I love that when you get the different insight. The Metallica documentary, some kind of monster, whether or not you're a big fan of Metallica or the documentary itself, it is a very interesting look into the band and really shows you how crazy Lars Ulrich is. But, you know, it's a nice insight. I like seeing that sort of insight in a person. That's why I liked Free Solo so much, was because it was a real insight into the mind of a rock climber.
Yeah.
Which is something I would never do in my entire life and couldn't even fathom, rock climbing.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing look into it, and seeing it in an IMAX screen, it really, like, put you into the film. I like that. I like feeling like I am the person, going through this. That's some of my favorite documentaries. Three Identical Strangers. It makes you really see some of the evils of humanity and some fascinating things about humanity, and makes you feel like you watched this stuff happen with these brothers. I think Won't You Be My Neighbor did an amazing job of showing you the insight of Mr. Rogers.
I'm ashamed of myself for not seeing that yet.
Well, you should be.
I loved Mr. Rogers, too.
Well, did you? Because you didn't see the movie. I bet you're going to see the biopic that comes out this year with Tom Hanks as
right.
Mr. Rogers.
No, I'll see the documentary first.
I don't believe you.
I will. I will.
Picks or it didn't happen. As they say in my generation, picks or it didn't happen.
What does that mean?
All right, so we're talking about documentaries.
Yes.
And we're talking about some of our favorites. Yes, cut me off. Let's go.
No, go ahead.
No, cut me off. Let's do it.
No.
What are you going to say? Come on, it was important.
No, it wasn't important. It was just, for me, I don't want to forget it. I don't want to forget it.
Say it, I'm waiting.
All right. There are some documentaries that are made where you actually see the filmmaker throughout.
Yes.
Michael Moore.
Yes, Michael Moore. They're a main character in their films.
Okay.
I was going to start talking about the different things about documentaries, but instead you cut me off to just jump into a different topic in documentaries. But yes, you have Michael Moore. Morgan Spurlock is another one. Jimmy Chin, the director of Free Solo, is a part of the film, but he's not the main focus. So there is a difference between somebody who's the main focus of the documentary is their own main character. Because the documentary does have a sort of a 3-act structure, and a lot of times will be a narrative documentary film where it's following a character. Like Bowling for Columbine or Fahrenheit 9/11 are following a person, following Michael Moore through these things while he shows you all this other stuff. Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me.
Yes.
It shows you all about McDonald's and fast food, but it's mainly the story of this man who's eating nothing but McDonald's for 30 days. Which a lot of people have come to dispute now because his results have never fully been replicated ever since. So some people kind of question that, but I think it's a fascinating documentary into fast food. I think he did a couple other really good documentaries. Morgan Spurlock, he did another one, The Greatest Movie Ever Sold, which is all about advertising in movies, which is very good. And it's The Greatest Movie Ever Sold, brought to you by Palm Wonderful.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Because they put Palm Wonderful all over it, because they got Palm Wonderful to be the sponsor. The
That's right, juice. Yeah.
And some of my other favorite documentaries that have more of a narrative structure would probably be The Three Identical Strangers, definitely, because Three Identical Strangers follows the three brothers perfectly. If you haven't seen Three Identical Strangers, I mention it every week. Watch Three Identical Strangers. And then another one, which also came out last year, is Jim and Andy, which is the Jim Carrey documentary about Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman.
Oh, yeah.
With documentary of Jim Carrey now reflecting on being Andy Kaufman. And how in his own words, he says, he did not make Man on the Moon. Andy Kaufman went into his body and possessed him, and Andy Kaufman made his own movie.
And he still says that.
He still says that. He still says that. And he said that the studio didn't release this footage for about 20 years because the studio said, and Jim Carrey says this, saying the studio said it, we don't want Jim to look like an asshole. Because it does not make Jim Carrey look very good. It does not paint Jim Carrey in a great light. But Jim Carrey agreed to do it, and it's a great insight into Jim Carrey as a person who is somebody I idolized as a kid. So it's a fascinating look into Jim Carrey.
There are method actors, and I consider Jim Carrey a method comedian.
Oh, well, he is a method actor. When you watch that movie, he is a method actor. Yeah. He went to Steven Spielberg's office as Tony Clifton, screaming and cursing up a storm looking for Steven Spielberg. He went to Hugh Hefner's house saying he was going as Tony Clifton, had the real guy who would pretend to be Tony Clifton, Andy Kaufman's friend.
Yeah.
Because the documentary's made by Andy Kaufman's girlfriend and the guy who played Tony Clifton, Andy Kaufman's best friend, who was played by Paul Giamatti in Man on the Moon. They made the documentary. He has the friend go to the Playboy Mansion as Tony Clifton, making everyone think it's Jim Carrey. And then Jim Carrey showed up as himself.
Oh, wow.
And then they threw out the guy dressed as Tony Clifton.
Oh, man. That sounds like a fun documentary.
That's a very fun documentary. It's on Netflix. I think it has a longer title, but the big title is Jim and Andy. I think there's a subtitle, too, but it's Jim and Andy. You'll see it's a picture of Jim Carrey with him as Andy Kaufman. And it's a fascinating documentary. It's a documentary that I think makes the film Man on the Moon better.
Well, all right.
I think I enjoy it more having seen Jim and Andy.
And that's something that nowadays with DVDs, sometimes you'll get the documentary about the movie, and those are interesting.
Yes.
Because they do that even with, like, 2001 has a special edition.
And your favorite documentary about a movie is Heart of Darkness.
Heart of Darkness, about Apocalypse Now.
Your favorite movie of all time.
It's one of my favorite war movies of all time. It is.
You have fallen asleep to that movie more than any movie ever.
More than any other movie I've fallen asleep to.
Combined.
I'm a big fan of Apocalypse Now, and when I heard about the documentary, because I remembered reading, Francis Coppola's wife kept a journal during that. They were in the Philippines for like a year and a half or so, just shooting. Roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
Roughly a year and a half shooting. She kept a journal, and he gave her some equipment to shoot footage to make a documentary. That documentary didn't come out until like almost 20 years later. And there are a few documentaries like that, though.
Oh, yeah.
That don't come out to, but... So
well, the Jim and Andy came out 20 years after Man on the Moon was released.
And Bob Dylan's Don't Look Back, which is Bob Dylan going to London and performing in London by himself. And meeting Donovan, which took a long time before it was released. But what was good, what I like about Heart of Darkness is it is the footage when they were making the movie and different things. Martin Sheen had a heart attack.
Yes.
And Francis Coppola's on the phone, and they just show the phone and they play like the audio.
Oh, yeah.
The audio of it.
Of course, they're not going to actually show it.
Which they do in documentaries too, yeah. And you hear him actually say that if Marty dies, I don't have a picture. And he already put like $1 million of his own dollars, and he.
Well, if the main character of your movie dies, you don't have a movie.
And he mortgaged some of his homes and stuff.
Oh,
to make this movie.
Oh no, he's gonna have to make Godfather 3 now.
And then they have footage of some interviews of people after the movie was made. John Milius was one of them. George Lucas. That's one of my favorite. I enjoy that. But then I saw a movie about Vietnam. I saw that a long time ago, a documentary on Vietnam, which gave me the greatest insight of what really happened in Vietnam, which was different than what I learned in
school. And what was that
school.
documentary called?
I don't remember.
Then why'd you bring it up?
Because I just wanted to say that
It's a really great documentary. We don't know what it is. If you find it, it might not be that one. Good luck.
No, but
if you win it, you get a prize. All expense paid trip to Aruba.
With me as your guide.
Yeah, you're never coming back. You're never coming back from Aruba. So you have You have a couple of your favorite documentaries?
I'd like to listen to a few of yours.
All right, let's go. I got a couple more.
Okay.
I got about 15 more. Another couple of my favorite. One I really wanted to talk because this is fascinating to me, documentary-wise.
Yes.
Because you always get documentaries about something years after it's happened. So they give you the full consensus about it. Like we said, it usually takes 10 years for some documentaries to be released. One of those was Who Killed the Electric Car, which came out in 2006. About the death of the electric car, which was, in 2006, non-existent. Electric cars were dead. They were not coming back, they were dead. In 2011, that same director had to make another film called Revenge of the Electric Car, which focused on the return of the electric car with a lot of insight and behind-the-scenes looks of the first couple of years of Tesla, and has a lot of focus about Elon Musk, who is one of the people who saved the electric car.
And that is really cool. So yeah, at the time when that first documentary was made, it looked like there was going to be no electric car.
No, it was dead, which was a shame because it was a great idea and it was a brilliant invention.
And now there's a resurgence of it.
Yeah, now we're going to eventually, there will be a time where we're going to have all electric cars and no fuel cars, or very few gasoline or diesel powered cars.
That would be great.
And we'll mostly just have electric cars. In my lifetime, I think that will happen.
I think that would be great.
I think that will definitely happen within my lifetime.
And with a documentary, you get the insight.
Exactly. So it's a really fascinating look to see how it ended and how it was brought back. So I would recommend both Who Killed the Electric Car and Revenge of the Electric Car. Another documentary I want to talk about is a documentary that came out, I think, within the past 2 to 3 years, and it's called Weiner, which is the film about Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, right.
Anthony Weiner, the famous, the famous Weiner,
the infamous.
No, he was. Would you call him the infamous running? The guy who was constantly running for something, and then something bad would happen.
Yeah.
Because he was an idiot. And he would just shoot himself in the foot. I was trying to figure out a word for it, but it's better to just say, the guy who kept shooting himself in the foot while he ran for office, Anthony Weiner. And it's a fascinating look into his campaigns, his what happened to him, and then it goes into his comeback. And how he was making a comeback, and he was going to be better than ever. And then he shot himself in the foot again.
And isn't he in prison now?
Probably.
I think he is.
Probably. I don't remember how the documentary ended. It was sad. It's great, though. If you want to see the downfall of a political proponent, that's a documentary to watch. I highly think that's the documentary to watch. If you want to see the rise and fall of somebody like that.
But it's like you said, the guy was an idiot.
Yeah.
He's a Mamaluke. You look up Mamaluke in the dictionary and you see Weiner's picture.
Probably. I would think so. Another documentary I want to talk about. I'm a big fan of the ESPN 30 for 30s.
Yes.
Which is ESPN has a documentary series for, I think, over 10 years now, I would say. It's been a very long time, 30 for 30s. I'm a big fan of ESPN 30 for 30s. There's so many of them. I can't possibly think of all of them off the top of my head. But there's so many great sports documentaries done by all sorts of filmmakers. And one of my favorites is Jordan Takes the Bus, which is the documentary, I would say the definitive documentary, about Michael Jordan playing baseball.
Yeah.
It is the story of, I wanted to get the filmmaker. I have it. It's not a very long documentary, so I'd highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. But it's about Michael Jordan leaving the NBA to play in baseball, how he was, what could have been, and it's directed by Ron Shelton, who directed White Men Can't Jump, amongst many other films. And it's his look in Tin Cup, Bull Durham, and it's his
so he's
look.
A regular director.
He's a great director, great sports director.
Yes.
And it's his look into Michael Jordan playing professional baseball.
I want to see that.
That's great. It's older now. I have it right here. It came out in 2010, so it's a 9-year-old documentary now.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. ESPN has so many. The most recent one I watched was actually last week. They did an ESPN 30 for 30 documentary on Deion Sanders, about, which I don't remember the exact name, but if you look up Deion Sanders, ESPN 30 for 30,
Yeah.
it'll come right up. And it's the story of Deion Sanders was the only player to play in 2 different sports on the same day. He played for the Atlanta Falcons in the daytime, and he played for the Atlanta Braves at night.
Which is cool.
Which is amazing. Yeah. The kicker is he just dressed for the baseball game. He didn't actually play in the game. He just sat on the bench and he could have been used.
Yeah.
But that's part of the documentary of why that happened, and it's a very good look into.
That's good, yeah.
Him as a player. They have an interview, a very great interview with him, and they have an interview with Bo Jackson as well, which is also great. Who's the other famous 2-sport athlete?
Right.
And it's a great look into 2-sport athletes, why they existed, why they don't exist anymore, and kind of what happened between him and the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Falcons. And it's a great documentary. I highly recommend taking a look at it.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see that. And since you brought up sports documentaries, I've been watching some MLB ones.
Oh.
And just the other day, I watched one about Johnny Bench.
Yes.
Which is, you might still be able to get it. And that was very interesting about Johnny Bench. And narrated by Martin Sheen.
Yes. The ESPN 30 for 30s also have a lot of big narrators. The Deion Sanders one was narrated by Ludacris, who's from Atlanta. So that was a big thing for him.
Yeah.
I don't remember who does Jordan Takes the Bus. There's a lot of great, like I said, ESPN does a lot of fantastic documentaries. They did one on Ric Flair recently.
Yeah, I want to see that one.
That was really good. They do a really good one on Mike and the Mad Dog, Mike Francesa and the Mad Dog Chris Russo. That's a really good documentary about they were the most prolific sports radio guys in the world at one point. And it's a fascinating look at them. So I'd highly recommend taking a look at that as well.
And as I said before, what I like about you're going to get the actual facts. You're gonna see them. You're gonna hear some things in their own words.
Oh yeah,
which are great in the documentary.
Are there any documentaries that you like? Perhaps any Grateful Dead ones?
Yes, there is.
A Tom Petty one.
Yes.
What about the Eagles?
All right, but all of mine are music. But I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. And then I want to talk about a comedy documentary.
All right, well, we only got 6 minutes left. So.
We only have 6 minutes. Okay.
So I asked you 10 minutes ago.
One of my favorite. No, you have some really interesting ones. One of my favorite is Bob Weir. This is a great story. This documentary, I believe they could make a movie out of this. They could make their own biopic. It's called The Other One, The Long Strange Trip of Bob Weir. Unfortunately, I don't know the entire crew that was with it, but it's Bob Weir. It's following him. Bob Weir was, what's very interesting about him, he was adopted by this couple who they adopted 2 boys because they couldn't have children. And a few years after Bob Weir was growing up, his mother had a girl. So they had their own child. So he had a sister. And Bob wound up at 16 years old hanging out with a group called the Merry Pranksters, which were these hippies that were doing LSD, experimenting with LSD, driving a yellow bus. And for you Beatle fans, you know about the Magical Mystery Tour, where there are people who dispute that they got the idea from Ken Kesey and famous writer Ken Kesey and Neil Cassidy, who would take LSD, do these tests, and the electric Kool-Aid acid test is a book. Bob Weir and the Grateful Dead were the band, and it's like how Bob Weir met Jerry Garcia. He said Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead became his brothers, and it follows him. And then he actually meets his real parents. So there's a good story there, all about him with his friendship with Jerry Garcia, about the Grateful Dead, but about the time, the hippie time.
The hippie time.
The time of...
the time of the hippie.
Of the hippie,
The hippie time.
The hippie time. The Tom Petty documentary, I really enjoy that. There's Ken Burns. Ken Burns, he's
made a couple documentaries.
He's a very famous he actually makes documentary miniseries.
Yes, he's one of the most prolific documentarians.
All right, and he has a miniseries that is great that I have never been able to watch complete.
It's very hard to watch all of
Ken Burns, but they're on PBS a lot. The baseball documentary is the most definitive documentary on the game. There are a few other. There's a documentary about the Brooklyn Dodgers. There's a Brooklyn Dodgers documentary. I don't remember the name of that one.
Also a great HBO documentary about Yogi Berra.
About Yogi Berra, which
is really great, which I believe is called Yogiisms.
Yes, I believe it's
called Yogiisms, but I believe it's the only Yogi Berra documentary HBO's made. So I'd highly recommend taking a look at that.
Yeah, that's a great documentary, Yogiisms. And the Brooklyn Dodgers one, I believe that's HBO also.
They also did a Chicago Cubs one, which is really good. It's a little outdated because it's before they won the championship by about 10 years. But it's a very great documentary.
And Andy Warhol, who I consider a very complicated person.
Yes.
You know? And there have been some movies made about Andy Warhol. One of them was I Shot Andy Warhol. Another was Factory Girl. And then Andy Warhol has shown up in the Doors movie and even comically in Men in Black 3. There was an Andy Warhol documentary just called Andy Warhol, made for PBS that I saw. I watched one time and I really enjoyed it. And now I want to see. Ken Burns just did one.
Oh,
and it's a two-parter.
About Andy Warhol.
About Andy Warhol.
Two-parter, so it's 8 hours long.
It's like an 8-hour, really, it's like an 8-hour long, but you can't talk documentaries without mentioning.
No, you can't without Ken Burns. Ken Burns made the documentary. He makes the documentary about documentaries. That's gonna be his last one.
A mini-series documentary.
The last documentary I want to speak about is a documentary called Catching Hell, which is ESPN 30 for 30 about Steve Bartman, who you may not remember is the man of the famous Steve Bartman incident in the 2003 NCLS with the Florida Marlins and Chicago Cubs. Steve Bartman was the man who put his hand out over the brick and the ivy, right over Moises Alou's glove, and brought in a home run that cost the Cubs going to the World Series and became the most vilified person in all of Chicago. Yeah. And it's a fascinating documentary and look at Steve Bartman.
I want to see that and now he's not vilified anymore.
No,
right?
They actually gave him a ring when they won.
When they won. That's really cool. And they were good sports about it. And I always want to bring up the fact that there was one more game. Sometimes this takes some wind out of your sails, but there was one more game. All right, and the final documentary I want to talk about is one that you and I saw at the Cradle of Aviation Museum on IMAX, which was a very interesting. It was the Titanic, and there's something else about it, but it was made by James Cameron, and it's where they actually took this mini sub and these little, like, what would you call them, like drones? These little robotic drones that...
Yeah, sure. Let's call them robotic drones.
That were cameras.
Yeah.
And they go inside the actual Titanic, and they look inside the Titanic. And I consider that was a great documentary.
Yeah, no, that's a fascinating documentary.
That was a very fascinating that you got to see inside the Titanic. Since James Cameron made a movie about it, now he actually went in and gave us all a look and built some equipment, right?
Yes, and he also did that with a cast member, which is Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton
was with him during this, and that film is called Ghosts of the Abyss.
All right. You see, I don't remember that. I'm sorry. I'm old.
That's why you're supposed to prep before you do the show. Ghosts of the Abyss was the last documentary we're going to talk about tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. We're going to have a great show next week where we're going to talk about interior design. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about something different. Stay healthy. Stay Gucci. We're going to see you soon. Have a great night.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. We're going to see you next week.
Take care. Have a good one.